been listening to a lecture by Dr. David Jacobs about his book, The Threat. Now, I know The Threat is old, but unlike a lot of other stuff I listen to, this radio show, that podcast, or whatever, to my delight, this lecture has given more information than the past year of me listening to radio shows and this information combined. And I had a couple of confirmations out of his lecture, which is why I'm posting it another feed already. I normally like to try to space them. And I have to hurry because I'm starting to forget the revelations. Now, in The Threat, it's talking about the hybridization program. And he's talking about what he's found out about how it works and some of the gynecological procedures and everything in the book. Well, in the speech, he's talking about why this is a threat to mankind. And everyone needs to face this, whether you think they're benevolent or not. But just because they're nice to you doesn't mean they're nice. There are two war tactics being used between the Western and the other sides at this time. One tactic is, you might recognize this phrase, winning the hearts and minds of the people. This is where the army comes in. They infect the people with their culture, and you pretty much turn them over to your side and get them sympathetic, so they end up joining you. It's kind of like the board. You will be assimilated. The other side that people try not to talk about because it's not PC, but it is, PC or not, it really is happening, is kind of a destruction of the hearts and minds movement. And that is, you send your children over to the other culture to take advantage of their colleges. You send them over there after having them been trained. It's kind of like a sleeper cell. This sleeper comes over, and they're taught to assimilate into the culture, to look normal, act normal, be completely non-conspicuous. And then at opportune times, the sleepers will rise up and do things. And we've been actually seeing examples of this across the world. I am not going to go into examples for people to get all corn-cobbed up their butts about. These are the two brands of warfare, main brands that are going on. Okay. The second one, the sleeper cell version that I just mentioned, is a lot more destructive, because when the sleepers rise up, they have absolutely no care about assimilating a new culture. They couldn't give a flying fuck about your culture. Okay, they're out to destroy your culture and to make, and if you do not get with the program, or sometimes even if you do, you're out of there. You're flushed. Well, what Dr. Jacobs has discovered is more and more people are talking about this program, and there are hybrids that actually are coming down to live with us, and they're being taught to conform. And one of my friends, even, she's so proud because she's been teaching children so much lately. And these people, but when you start reading between the lines of conversations that experiencers have been having with their handlers aboard ships or whatever, the way Dr. Jacobs puts it is, they're talking about this event that's going to happen and how wonderful it's going to be, because then we're all going to be together, and isn't that going to be wonderful? And because everyone's, and here's the most important part, everyone's going to know their place. And when they say, isn't it wonderful, Dr. Jacobs says, if you start reading in between the lines, isn't it wonderful for them, not us? They don't care about us. They just do not care about us. Sleeper cells. And this is a very ancient war tactic of taking over an entire country with less, it takes a long time, but it works, because there's a wasp. There's a breed of wasp. I don't remember the name of the wasp right off the bat. But they can decimate, just on a couple of wasps, can decimate an entire beehive. Bees will see you coming at the front door and go at you all out and don't piss off a beehive. But the wasps will dig a hole in the back and come into the back door, and they get inside, and the bees don't attack, because the wasps have snuck in, and thus the bees kind of decimate the beehive from the inside out. And that is what the sleeper cell tactic does. It decimates from the inside out. Now, in the war that we're having with particular other countries, we've already had some things happen, and the bees are not fighting back. Notice the bees are not fighting back. They're looking the other way. They're trying to ignore what's going on. With the hybridization, pay attention. The bees are not striking back. Oh, but they're friendly. Yeah, they smiled to your face, didn't they? I'm sure that Jeffrey Dahmer was really friendly. You know, when he met somebody on the street. Actions speak louder than words. Just because someone said it's going to be okay and said words to calm you down during an abduction does not mean it was okay that they forced so-and-so to carry a hybrid child for 10 weeks. I was reading an account just the other day about a woman who was forced to carry it was called an extrauterine gestational unit because she had a hysterectomy, so they put in a unit to carry the child, and she expressed that she did not want to do this, and she expressed that she was disgusted by the concept. They didn't just stop. When she asked them to, they told her how important her role was and that she was in charge of it now. She had to take care of it. And she was going to do this because she was filled with this feeling and this need to serve. And do not think for an instant that is your feeling. Your feelings can and will be manipulated, and our technology is to the point that the government can do it. So sleeper cells, guys. Think of sleeper cells. Go start researching how they work, and then start looking at the hybridization program. You guys really should look into the threat, and I'm looking forward to finishing it so I can try to get his next book and catch up on his research. I would like to have a chat with him because there's some things. There was another thing he confirmed. He was bamboozled at the time about how everybody gets trained. 90-year-old women get trained to do things that we will be called to do whenever this event, whatever it is, and it's going to be one where people will be rushing and scared and corralled into different areas, mind you, to do. And he said, is it because it's going to happen soon, or because we need a ever-rolling influx of people prepared so that one can replace the other, so that everything will be in place no matter what when the event finally happens? And I was like, it is the ever-rolling option. I have been talking about that ever-rolling option for years. There's a video here on my channel that I had transferred over from my other channel, and it just completely made me feel better that I knew about the cogs of the wheel, and he was only just discovering it. I was like, oh my gosh, confirmation. There were a couple other things, but they're going out of my head, of course. He mentioned how it's imperative when you're an experienced or abductee, when it comes to a lot of certain things, that you not talk about it. You do not talk about it whatsoever. The ones that are come forward are they're able to talk about certain things, and if you pay attention, most of it's disinformation in a lot of cases. I'm not saying everybody, in a lot of cases. And I was like, well, wow, because it's totally imperative that I not talk about anything, to the point that it is hell. It is hell. People are manipulated away from me. I have the babbler if anyone ever tries to hypnotize me, so that I've given up. It is hell. So that was things to make up. And there was just a lot in this talk. It was a MUFON talk. If I can find it again, because we were listening to it in the car and going to town. If I can find it again, I'll link it below. Listening to the talk made me remember an event that happened when I was a child. And I've started to approach it, and then I back off. I start to approach it, and I back off. And this time I am going to talk about it. And this is the time that I went on what I thought was alien line at the time to hang with this little boy who was my friend. Now, like a lot of childhood memories, when you try to think back, everything's kind of hazy, but this is hazy in a weird dreamlike way. But I knew it happened. And I lived near an area that we call the hunting ground. Now, nowadays, I know that a lot of my activity happened out there. I'd go out there and meet up, get picked up, whatever. But I would go down there during the day when I was like 6 or 7, because there was this area out there, because it was a lot of swampland, being Florida. Okay, very important, being Florida. Okay, and it wasn't just Florida. I was Florida next to an island with a river and rivulets, and most importantly, not a lot of open flatland. There was flatland, you could see rain coming, but it was trees. A lot of it was trees. I grew up in the wild, just about, kind of a tamed down wild. It was still wild. And it was a place that me and my brother and cousins had found to play, and I'd only been once, and I decided I was going to go find it again. So I'm going down the trail, and I knew the way. It was so weird because when I was going, what used to be a hard-to-find trail was suddenly a very clear and open trail, and I was able to find it, and you could see that it had been walked a lot, and I'm walking down this trail. I'm going out by myself. I don't care if Mom said no. And got to what we call the little island, and all it was this little itty bitty patch of high ground, a couple of 100 feet diameter, okay, with like water around it like a natural moat, and we had decided that was going to be our fort, you know. And I'm hanging on a little island all by myself, having a good time, and this blonde-haired little boy, because up, like here's me on the island, and up, you know, it wasn't north. I don't know what direction it was, but up past the moat, there was this rise of earth, and this little boy comes climbing over the rise, and he's like, hello, and I'm like, hello, are you coming here to play too? Yeah, sure. And so we spent hours together playing and talking and having a good time. He did most of the talking, and I remember he was smaller than me, and although he seemed like a couple of years younger, he was definitely a lot more talkative than I am, as if he were older in some way. And we're just having a good time. And he's like, where do you live? And I'm like, I live over here. And he's like, I live up over the rise. And when I was like, sure. So we went up over the rise, and we go up over. And instead of what I was expecting to see was more trees, what I saw was this open flat land, a farm, fences, horses, cows. Because he lived at that farm, he had said. Now, it could have been a dream. It could have been, but as it started to get dark in the evening, we said our goodbyes, and I went home and he went home. The path was just clear, and I went home totally incensed. I had made a friend in Oak Pool because you could hear the train running. It was, I remember at one point, there was a train that you could hear it running. Now, sometimes you could hear the train running where I lived, but it was very, very distant. But where I was, for some odd reason, the train sounded closer. And so there was this train sound that was louder than usual. But so I'm going to go play with my little boyfriend the next day, whose name I never got, by the way. You know how kids are. Couldn't find the trail. Looked again. Couldn't find the trail. Looked again. And from that day forward, never found the island again, although I looked and looked and looked for weeks, and finally gave up and found other things to do. But I never forgot about that incident. Never, my whole life. This incident that was so real, that yet was so dreamlike. And so I thought, well, maybe I accidentally went down one of those time slips that people talk about or whatever. But let me see. Train sound, displacement of time, smaller person to me, much wiser, with a lot of talk. I don't know. What do y'all think? I think it sounds like something else that no one's ever going to get with me to investigate because people are jerks. So anyway, but listening to Dr. Jacobs' speech made me remember this, and I just kept thinking of it over and over again, to the point that it was almost distracting from the information he was giving out. So I thought I would share it with you, you know, that, yeah, it was this quaint little farmhouse area, and I didn't see one of those areas again until I traveled up north on a bus. I think it was a bus. Anyway, I was either driving or riding in a vehicle, and that was the, you know, yeah. Midwest. It was a very Midwest setting, you know. Kind of neat. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he was really another little kid, and maybe he wonders what happened to me, too, and he tried to find the island, and there was no island. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, see, and all the rest of the stuff that I needed to share with you is gone already, and that's why I had to hurry up and record what little I could. But one thing I like the most about Dr. Jacobs' work is that he is probably one of the last standing that has any fucking common sense or love of the truth. He's not trying to go around talking about white lighter this and wash your brain out and get ready for the rapture of that. He is like, look at what's going on. And as a result, I think that if what was going on truly was benevolent, he would be saying, look what's going on, isn't this great? But he's not. He's saying, this kind of scares me.